I felt inspired here to put up a short message today about how Jesus wants all of our life. And I have noticed since I've turned back to Jesus Christ in my own life, away from the New Age, that I've really had to let go of a lot of attachments I had. For example, I'll just give you an example. I studied the tarot pretty extensively when I was in the New Age. And when I started turning back to Jesus, I noticed I wanted to still hold on to the tarot. It's like, well, I don't have to give this up, right? I can walk with Jesus, but still have these other things, right? And I think that's a big struggle for a lot of us who walk this path of turning back to Christ, is realizing Jesus wants it all. He wants all of us. He wants our entire life. He wants us to turn our whole life over to him and follow him. He was very clear about that in the Bible. You know, he would tell people, sell everything you have and follow me, right? Now, think about those attachments, how strong those attachments are of like, well, I don't want to give up this. I don't want to give up that. I don't really Jesus, come on, Jesus doesn't need me to give up everything, right? Like, it's okay for me to still drink a 6-pack with the boys on the weekend, or it's still okay if I, load up the websites and get out a bottle of lotion a couple times a week. Like, it's just for 10 minutes. That's okay, right? And the point is, it's actually not. It's not okay in the eyes of Jesus. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to strike us dead for every sin that we commit, but he is asking for all of us. And that's just been really coming through for me so clearly, and it's causing me to really examine all of these attachments that I have, all of these attachments that I've created in my life, and ask myself, which ones of these can I let go of? And it's hard, but God gives us a lot of grace when we let go of these attachments. And it's also how our spiritual gifts can be revealed to us, because God wants to bless us up with gifts to teach, gifts to heal, gifts of discernment. These are like legitimate spiritual superpowers that he wants us to be able to use for the sake of his kingdom here on earth. But we've got to get rid of our attachments and our vices in order to get those gifts. And I see a lot of people, I see it in myself and I see it outside of myself, a lot of people who turn to Christ, but then they don't really want to give up whatever attachments that they've had. And this is where a lot of excuses and justifications can come in. I've noticed people recently in my field have been going to a popular New Age festival where there's a lot of drug use, and Jesus is not anywhere to be seen in terms of the intentions of the festival. The people who create the festival are very anti-Christ, okay? But I've noticed some people I know who have turned to Christ recently, they still went to that festival and they had justifications for it of like, oh, well, God guides us into places like this. And I would push back against that and say, are you sure? Because Jesus taught us to pray, lead us not into temptation and deliver us from evil. So why would God guide us into a festival where there's going to be all kinds of people taking all kinds of different substances, and probably we're going to be offered something, we're going to be tempted. We're going to be tempted for sure. And maybe we're going to pass all of those tests and not give in to any temptations. But to me, it sounds questionable to think that God would guide any of his children into the belly of the beast or into any environment where Satan's kingdom is holding the space. It's not a Christian space at all. And it's indeed hostile. It's hostile to Christians. And that's something I'm learning on my path of coming out of the New Age, is a lot of the New Age and a lot of people who are in the New Age that I have known and made connections with are pretty much openly hostile towards Christianity. And that's just a part of my path right now, is to give more of myself over to Jesus, and so I can be in service to his kingdom rather than to my own life or to Satan's kingdom. And unfortunately for people like myself, when I was in the New Age, or for people who are still very much in that sort of false spirituality, they're giving their lives over to Satan's kingdom while telling themselves that they're light workers or things like this. There's all kinds of justifications that we can make for serving the devil because we don't really want to admit that that's what we're doing sometimes. I know I didn't, I was essentially serving the devil for several years as some sort of like wannabe new age shaman, priest, astrologer, whatever it was that I was doing. I was serving Satan's kingdom, but I would have never been open to allow that message to come in because I was living way too much in my own pride and my own arrogance. So that's a little glimpse into my journey today and a few thoughts that have been on my mind lately about giving all of our lives over to Christ, and for the reason being that it's good for us. It's good for us to do that. It's good for us to not hide parts of our life away from Christ, where we've got our little secret compartments of, okay, I'm like half a Christian, I'm 80% following Christ, but I got my little space over here where I do my little dirty deeds. That's for me, Christ is asking for all of us. He's asking us to lay those things down and to give ourselves over to him completely. So I'll be walking that path, and I hope you are as well. Peace and blessings to you. Have a beautiful day.